public hearing of the City of Prescott Preservation Commission. Members present at this meeting are James McCarver, Richard Sprain, Michael Mirko, Gary Edelbrock, and I'm Robert Burford, Chair. Also present are Kat Moody, Historic Preservation Specialist. George Worley is here in the close by, Planning Manager. I want to thank Michelle Chavez, Recording Secretary, Bryn Stotler, our Community Development Director, and Councilman Good from the City Council. This is an open public hearing and is being videotaped and tape recorded by the city. The proceedings are being televised by representatives of the public media. Local cable and or radio stations may also be present, and the events may be rebroadcast. The number of council commission members, present is 5, and it will require 4 votes for a majority, since our commission total is 7. All parties wishing to be heard on an issue are required to raise their hands and be recognized by the chair prior to speaking. Speakers will be expected to state their name and address for the record so that we may know who is speaking and be able to contact them at a later date if necessary. Please turn off any cell phones, electronic devices, gaming, video tools, whatever you have. And if you haven't done so, please sign the attendance roster before leaving the meeting, which brings us to today's agenda. The first order of business is approval of minutes from the May 10th, 2019 meeting, which all of us members have. I see Gary has a comment on that.
I was going to make a motion to approve.
I made the wrong assumption, Gary. Go right ahead. I'd entertain that motion.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any comments on that motion? Those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. The second item of business is HP 19007 concerning 144 South Montezuma Street. It's in our Historic Preservation District number 1, the Courthouse Plaza, and it is a request for a new sign for a new business, 1881 Spirits. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Moody for her comments.
Thank you and good morning. This is a business which we have reviewed signage for in the past. Currently, this is what it looks like with Whiskey Row Pub being in this location. This is immediately adjacent to the Holiday Courtyard. This building is not listed in the National Register. A lot of people actually think it is original because the infill work on this building was very sensitively done, and it does have brickwork in keeping with the historic character of Whiskey Row. The reason it's not original is because of the great snowstorm of 1967-68. And the roof collapsed on this building, as it did in many businesses around town during that snowstorm, which extended from mid-late December into early January. And there was a lot of damage throughout town that actually closed down car dealerships and other major businesses in town. Damage to this building was so extensive that the front portion of the building and the rear and many of the other associated wall structures had to be reconstructed. The two elements that are original to the building are the sidewalls and the floor. But this facade is completely a reconstructed facade. This request that we are reviewing today is for a signage change on this business from Whiskey Row Pub to 1881 Spirits. The proposed sign style is very much the same if you compare, say, what's there now. We have a black pan channel lettering. What's being proposed is a black pan channel lettering within the same sign band. You can barely see this here, but this is in your packet, you'll be able to see better. This is a rendering. You can see this amber halo lighting. So each of these letters has an amber halo glow that happens at night. So that's one of the reasons for using a pan channel lettering, is that you can get that distinctive individual lettering mounted to the building, and then you also have the ability to place the LED lighting behind that lettering, so you don't have an actual external fixture. We do have a lot of this style of signage in the district, and guidelines for the district recommend placement of signs in the sign band, which this building does have a very clear sign band. And so that is the intention here. And we do have the sign contractor here to answer any additional questions you might have. And with that, I'll turn it over to you all.
Kat, I'd like to ask if you know if the square footage of signage could at some point in the future, if there's enough to allow for some additional signage on the canopy itself. I know under this proposal there is none, but
yes,
can you address
there's
that?
plenty of additional available signage. Yes. Currently, there's a sign on the back of this building on the rear door that says Whiskey Row Pub, rear entrance or something. But this proposal is just for this front sign at this time. But if at some point they choose to redo, say, an awning valance that has signage on it, they certainly would have the ability to add additional signage on their awning.
Which would be totally in keeping with what's going on Whiskey Row there.
It would. I would remind you that one of the directives, and this is just based on previous actions of this commission over the past, say, 5 years, there was a fair amount of discussion about if you put signage in the sign band and then you put signage on the awning and then you put signage on the valance, it starts to become a little overwhelming, too much signage. So one of the things the commission in the past has tended towards is if there's signage in the sign band, allowing signage on the valance, but not on the 45-degree face of the awnings, just to avoid 3 layers of stacked signage.
Right.
But at this point, what we're reviewing is the signage in the sign band.
So what happens to the Whiskey Row Pub on the awning itself?
They could just replace that black with a solid black valance, and then that would be just black, the way it's depicted in this rendering.
So that's the plan?
My understanding is that's the plan. Brian, would you like to come up and just address that, please?
Good morning. Brian Wywick, 691 6th Street. In speaking with the business owner, it does sound to me like he is going to just replace that with a black piece of material to get rid of the old name. And I honestly, I've been trying to get a hold of him and figure out what he wanted to do with the back door sign, and I haven't been able to get a clear answer on that. So,
I know you're not the owner of this building or the business, but do you have any sense of when this might occur?
this sign itself. As soon as we get a permit, we'll start building it, and he's really wanting to have it installed before the 4th of July weekend. I mean, we're pushing.
Good idea.
So it all depends on when we can get the permits and all the approvals.
And the permit's in review, and I believe the reviews were supposed to be done this week, so we're one of the last steps in the review of the permit.
Well, I would have to say I think it's a well-done reconfiguration of the building there. I think it's really handsome with the brick corbels and the signage band and some of the brick detailing there being fairly strong building, and this letter style and in that space with the backlit letters. I think at night that's going to be an attractive and not garish signage. I appreciate that, and with that, I'd ask if any of the council member or commission members have comments or
I agree.
any other.
How about a motion to approve?
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
XP 19007. Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Those in favor of approving this issue, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Obviously none. It's been approved. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Is this going to be a restaurant? What is this going to be?
I think it's still intended to be a saloon, a bar.
Moving along on our agenda, I would guess that Ms. Moody has some comments to make about next week.
Yes, so next week is the Arizona Statewide Historic Preservation Conference, which is being held here in Prescott, which is going to bring between 300 and 400 people to town. So you will be seeing walking around downtown people with historic preservation badges. And obviously I am heavily involved in that effort, and my time is being dominated preparing in various ways for that event. And you all are registered for the conference, and as well as Councilman Good and our planning staff as well. So the event starts Wednesday. Those of you who agreed to sign up for the CLG, which is the Certified Local Government Training, which is specific to commissions like this one, that takes place Wednesday afternoon. If you all haven't been, if you all don't have an agenda, please let me know, because I can email you the latest agenda. You will get a hard copy booklet when you go to check in at registration.
And when is that first registration time period?
The registration opens Wednesday morning. Yeah. And so it's in the lobby of the Hacienda. And then if you go and register, you pick up your name badge and you get your booklet and your conference bag. And that will have full descriptions of all the sessions, as well as an overview that shows the schedule and the time for the various sessions. There's the CLG training is Wednesday afternoon. One of the co-facilitators for that training, as well as some people from Phoenix and the State Historic Preservation Office. So that's Wednesday afternoon. Regular sessions begin, well, Wednesday night is the reception that honors Elizabeth Ruffner, which takes place in the Holiday Courtyard on Whiskey Row. And so I believe I registered everybody for that in case you wanted to go. And that is just I think it goes from like 5:30 to 8. I believe it's just an evening reception, non-alcoholic event with light or kind of heavy appetizers type of thing. And then the regular breakout sessions begin Thursday, and they run Thursday and Friday. And those are open, you didn't have to register for those. Those are just open, and you can select off the agenda things you'd like to attend, You don't have to be there all day long, but if there's things that interest you, I encourage you to go to the sessions. Some of the sessions are at the Hacienda, and some of them are in the associated marina rooms, the building to the north of the Hacienda that they use for this type of event. And then some of the sessions are in the Elks building, in the breakout rooms there in the second and third floor of the Elks building, as well as the main theater. So it's a short walk between the Elks and the Hacienda. And those sessions run through Friday afternoon. And so I encourage you all, if you haven't gotten an agenda like sooner than Wednesday morning, please let me know. I can email you something. It's also available on the website. So that's all I have as an update.
Would you have any, being an insider, would you have any recommendations on any of the sessions? I know I've looked at the agenda several times and have my maybe picks, but do you?
Well, the sessions are going to vary. There's one of the ones I'm particularly excited about is the Baca Float session that talks about the large piece of property that's far up Williamson Valley Road on the west side of the road. And that has a very rich history, that Baca Float property. And it's fairly complicated, and somebody's doing a session on that, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that. I know one of the sessions that the people at State Historic Preservation Office are really looking forward to is the Green Book session, which was the Green Book travel guide. Somebody's doing something on that. There's several sessions that profile restoration of projects. Some of them are architectural, some of them are state parks related, some of them are archaeology or cultural heritage site focused. And so there's a pretty big selection. So you will have quite a few archaeology, state parks, preservation of lands that are not necessarily, have a lot of buildings on them. So there's both archaeology, landscape architecture, and then also because the theme of the conference is preservation is everybody's business, there's a focus on historic preservation as a tool for economic development, redevelopment of underutilized areas in cities. So that's also a focus as well.
Thank you, and I know all of us would thank you in advance for your efforts on this, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you.
With that, are there any other current events or comments or topics to discuss? If not, I will adjourn this June 7th meeting of the Preservation Commission today.